Today I get to talk to Randy Bachman and Tal Bachman of Bachman and Bachman, who are hitting the road, Tuesday?
Tuesday, their first gig, correct.
So you guys are kicking it off in Brantford, and then you're heading over to the Chatham Capitol Theatre. This kind of tour is new for both of you. You already have an album out together, is that correct?
Well, it's recorded. It's coming out later this year.
What's it called?
Our working title, I think we're going to call it Shadows of Yesterday.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, Dad? Yeah. Most of the album was written during COVID, and we were reminiscing how great all of our yesterdays were. And the song hook line is like, we should be dancing in the shadows of yesterday, listening to the music of yesterday, because nobody knows where and when tomorrow's going to happen, if ever.
Would you say summer we can look forward to this album?
Yeah, we're shooting for summer.
Well, you guys have a lot going on because, Randy, you just got one of your guitars back. It's been missing for, 46 years?
Yeah, 46 years.
So, can you guys tell me the story on this?
I mean, Dad can really tell most of it, but I just, by way of preface, my siblings and I all grew up listening to Dad talk about his stolen Gretsch guitar every single day of our childhoods, and we all grew up watching him search for it and never find it.
So where did it go missing?
It was stolen in Toronto from the Holiday Inn in 1976, I think. I just recorded an album there with BTO. We were at Phase One Studios. We were staying at a Holiday Inn. It got stolen out of the hotel room, and I searched for decades to find it and never found it. And then Tal and I have been doing YouTubes for the last year since we were shut down and couldn't tour. Every Friday we'd get together and kind of do a train wreck. We'd try to play each other's songs and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. But in one of those broadcasts, somebody sent a little note. When you're doing a live YouTube, the right side of the screen is a black column, and people can write in there, good song, bad hair day, the little comments. And one of them said, found the Gretsch guitar. And so Tal contacted the guy who lived in White Rock, and he had found my guitar online in Japan being played by a guy named Takeshi. And because Coco is Japanese, she contacted the guy. He doesn't speak English, and he had bought my guitar from a vintage dealer in Japan who got it from the Dallas Guitar Show in Dallas, Texas.
Wow. So your guitar was stolen in Toronto and made it to Japan. And so do you have it back now?
Yes, we did a switch on Canada Day. We found it in Japan. They couldn't ship it to us. We couldn't go there for 2.5 years because nobody could travel in or out of Canada. We had to wait. We finally had a call from Ian McKay, who was the Canadian ambassador in Japan, saying, I've been shut down for 2 years, but we're going to have a big thing on Canada Day. This is like last year. And you want to do your switch in your guitar there, we'll film. So it's being filmed for a Netflix or, TV series, and they're following the story of the guitar and how I got it back from this guy Takeshi, and it's an amazing story how all these good things happened.
The guy that gave you your guitar back, did you buy him a guitar so that he would have one to play?
Japanese people are very honest and honorable and very traditional, and he said, I will give you back your guitar. And I said, great, I'll get you a brand new one. He said, I don't want a new one. I want one just the same. So I went out and called a friend of mine in Loveland, Ohio, who's a guitar dealer, and I got the same guitar, the 1957 guitar, made in the same week, because the serial number is 2 digits off, and told Takeshi that, and he said, great, bring it to Japan. We did the trade on stage at the Canadian Embassy there.
Wow.
And it was all filmed, and they won't let me see the film. I'm waiting until it's all said and done, and I'll be surprised.
So is this the one that you and Neil Young have similar guitars? Is this the guitar, the Gretsch?
Yes, we bought it. Well, 2 of them came into Winnipeg. They were in the store window. We'd go look at them every Saturday. They wouldn't let us play them because we were, 16, 17 years of age, had no money. And finally we saved up some money. I bought one, he bought the other. One of the first guys to congratulate me that the word was up, I got mine back, was him. And this was like last year, saying, you got your guitar back. He still has his. It's wonderful to get it back. It's amazing.
I can't wait to see that rockumentary. I want to see your face when it is finally put back in your hands.
That's what the film captures, because when I went there to Japan, I said, I want to meet Takeshi and see my guitar. They said, we won't let you do that. I said, why not? They said, we want to, you're not an actor, and there's no second take on this. We want to get it when you walk on stage and he's playing your guitar, and you give him a brother shoulder hug, and then you trade guitars, you finish playing the song.
Oh, wow. And this is the guitar you wrote American Woman on?
Well, I learned to play on it, and I wrote every song and recorded every song of the Guess Who and BTO on that particular guitar. And Tal could tell you what it was like when I met Takeshi on stage. It was Well, he was observing it. I was in the middle of it. It was amazing.
Yeah, Tal, where were you when this was all happening?
Well, I was running around in the theater trying to make sure that everything was going well, because we had a very tightly scripted ceremony. By scripted, I just mean planned out, because we had dozens of Japanese dignitaries and all the movers and shakers of Japan there. We had media and everything, and so we had kind of a tight stage schedule, and you know what it's like. It's like not one of a million things can go wrong for the whole night to be a success. Plus, I did the entire schedule, and I'd written up the dialogue for the little miniature film that we played. So I was a little bit nervous, because I wanted everything to go right. Plus, we were filming it for this documentary that I'd also written. We had the film crew there. So I guess the truth is I wasn't really there in the moment enjoying it the way that I would have otherwise. Oh yeah, plus I had to do concluding remarks at the ceremony. And I realized as we were going that my prepared remarks were going to be terrible, so they weren't going to be appropriate, so I had to kind of do it spontaneously. So I didn't really get a chance to enjoy it the way I would otherwise have, because I was just trying to run around and make sure that everyone was where they were supposed to be. But it was an awesome evening, and it was great to see Dad get his guitar back. And then Coco, my wife, jumped on drums, and I grabbed the guitar, and my dad and Takeshi, we all played a song to finish the night off. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Is Coco on drums in the YouTube videos you guys were doing during COVID?
Yeah, that's her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they got married right after the ceremony. It was a traditional Japanese wedding that was amazing.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Tal, you have music of your own. 1998, 1999, She's So High. For us that were in our teens and 20s in the 90s, it's part of the soundtrack to our lives. Are we going to hear that at the Chatham Capitol Theatre, that song?
Yeah, we'll do that. I mean, we're going to do kind of a laid-back acoustic-y type show with some chit-chat with the audience, and so it's not going to be a full-on face-melting rock show or anything like that, but we will do She's So High, and we'll do some of Dad's old classics, and we're going to try out a few new ones that we've written. And we're also going to try a cover or two and maybe a request or two from the audience, so we'll see how that goes.
So everybody should be prepared with a request coming into this, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, particularly, cover tunes. I guess I would say we would specialize in 60s and 70s type songs, but I think that's the demographic anyway at these shows, so maybe we'll be able to do that.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a very intimate show. Are we going to hear a lot of songs off this new album that hasn't been released yet?
There'll be a couple, but what we're going to do, we did this Friday night show on YouTube every Friday, and Tal would bring 5 songs that he knew, and I'd bring 5 that I knew. We'd try to play them together, and we would really mess them up. And so we thought we're going to have a fishbowl or a box where people are coming in. They can write down their request, throw it in the box. We'll get it up on stage, and every 4th or 5th song, we'll pull something out of the box, a song title, and see if we can play it. Decide the key, and maybe Google the title and get the lyrics on an iPad or something, and try to sing and play it. And we'll ask the audience to sing along, because we're not going to know it that well.
That is an awesome thing to do, because every show you see is, well, it's usually almost perfect, right? So to see you guys working it out in your head and being true musicians, and it's kind of like a jam session, and we get to watch behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have mixed feelings about this sort of thing as a musician, because you get on stage and you don't want to make a bunch of mistakes. And I mean, you mentioned She's So High. I mean, it's difficult hitting that note, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to make a mistake and, embarrass yourself, but at the same time, you go to all these shows, and as you say, everything is so perfect. And then you watch video footage from, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and, there's more of a human fun element, and every once in a while they actually do make a mistake, because they weren't playing to, what we call click tracks, samples. And then when COVID hit, the authorities said, the lockdowns were going to last for 2 weeks, and then it was 3 weeks, then it was 5 weeks, then it was 10 weeks, and then, so it was this air of uncertainty, maybe even cataclysm, and you don't really know what's happening anymore. And I think just all of that just kind of drove us back to, let's just go play and whatever happens, happens, and let's have fun. So we, as Dad said, we started to do that on YouTube, and we never tried to make mistakes or anything, but
it wasn't that hard.
But like if we would have a train wreck during a song, everyone seemed to kind of like it more, because
it's real.
Yeah, and I think it kind of reminded people of themselves, just trying to jam because that's what happens, right? You start a song, it's in the wrong key, you can't remember the second verse, you're scat singing through the chorus, and
There was a show back, it was around 2012, I want to say, at Caesars Windsor. Randy, you were playing there, and you were introing the songs, and you were telling the stories about how the songs were written, and I thought that was really neat because there's a lot of artists that don't talk about it. They just want you to think about the song the way you think about it and keep the real meaning of it to themselves.
Right.
So you guys are real storytellers. I can tell just by talking to you today. But I do want to get one story out of you because it's a rock and roll myth, and I want to know if this is true about the pizza guy and taking care of business when you were recording that.
It's true.
It is true?
Yes.
Okay, you have to share a little bit of that story, just the cliff notes of it.
Well, I had written the song on stage. That's a whole story in itself. It's too long to tell you here. I'll tell it maybe the night of the show. And we were recording. We're listening to the playback. There was a knock at the door in the studio. I opened the door. There was a guy standing there with a couple of pizzas. And he said, "Did you order the pizza?" And I said, "No, we've been here 14 hours. We're going home to bed. This is like 2 o'clock in the morning." I said, "Go down the hall." We were in Studio A. I was there with BTO. And Studio B, Steve Miller was there doing his Felt Like an Eagle album. And Studio C, War was in there doing their Why Can't We Be Friends album. So I said, "Go and ask for Steve and go ask for Jerry in those rooms." And about 5 minutes later, there's a knock at the door again. He was outside our studio again. We're putting on our jackets, ready to go home to our hotel to bed. And he didn't have the pizza. I said, "You got rid of the pizza?" And he said, "Yeah." And he was standing there. I said, what can we do for you?" He said, "I don't deliver pizza till the end of the month when I can't pay my rent. I'm really a piano player, and this song sounds like it could really use a piano." And I said, "Yeah, I know Elton John, Little Richard, we might get them to play that later." And he said, "Well, I'm here right now. I'm a piano player. Can you give me a break?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I've been listening to the song. I can play to it in one take." And I said, "Well, who am I not to give a guy a break? You have one take." So we threw a mic in the piano, and he played it once, and he left. And the next day, the head of our record label flew in. He wanted to hear the album. And we played the album. When he heard the piano, he said, "Wow, that's incredible." Because piano was ruling the airwaves at the time with Elton John. He was like all over AM and FM radio. And he said, "Leave the piano in the song. It's great because you guys are all guitars and bass and drums. Who's playing the piano?" And I said, "I have no idea. It was a pizza guy that came here last night, and I don't know where he came from." So we had to track him down and find him, and that's the piano you hear on Taking Care of Business.
The pizza guy, that's the one that's on the recording.
Yes, his name was Norman Durkee. That was a break for him. He got pretty famous in Seattle. That's where we were recording this. And he went on to become Bette Midler's musical director on her first North American tour. And when I toured the world with Ringo Starr's band in '95, our tour ended up at the Greek Theatre in L.A., where the L.A. Philharmonic rehearsed. And the pianist for the L.A. Philharmonic was the same guy, Norman Durkee. So I got to see him there again.
Wow. So, not a rock and roll myth.
Yeah, and then on the stage next week, Tal will be playing Norman Durkee's part on the piano, or close to it.
Okay, so yeah, how many instruments do you guys play?
Tal plays everything. I play one.
I heard that you played banjo up on stage a couple of years ago.
Banjo's kind of like a guitar. Banjo's kind of like a guitar.
Okay.
I mean, Tal plays keyboard and drums and bass and trombone and trumpet and can play anything.
Well, when you guys first started playing together, Tal, you were playing drums for one of your dad's bands?
Yeah, the first time I played professionally with Dad was 25 years ago in the 90s, and he needed a drummer, and drums was my first instrument, so I played drums for him. We had a lot of great experiences then. That was before I had my own record deal, and I mean, one highlight for me was when we all went down to Neil Young's place and recorded, and so I played drums for Neil and Dad, and that was really fun. And then after a few years of that, I got my own record deal, and I played guitar on that record and when I toured and stuff. So, and now we play together all the time.
And making your own record, because you play every instrument, was it hard to let other people play the other instruments?
Well, it's funny you mention that. When I got my record deal, I wanted to just do a full Prince thing and play everything myself because I had all the parts mapped out and I had done the demo or rough recordings of all the songs. But, you know, my then manager said, well, maybe we should get a band and it could be a little bit like David Bowie's setup back in the day, and you could have, a unique character on drums and a different guy on guitar. So I went along with that. I found really great guys, and Bob Rock, who co-produced that record, and me kind of directed everything. But the drummer played drums, the bass player played bass, and they were both really great. And then I wound up playing a bunch of other stuff, but it wasn't only me on that record.
Let me add something to that, okay? The guys who played with Tal on his record and his early band are now in Alice Cooper's band.
Oh, yeah?
Well, they've all gone on to...
And Hollywood Vampires.
Yeah, they've all gone on to really great careers. I feel a wee bit of pride in that because these guys were completely obscure when I found them. And I was like, okay, this guy can do it, and that guy can do it. But yeah, they've played with a zillion guys, Metallica, Alice Cooper, and...
You're touring all this month.
Basically around Toronto, around the GTA, yes.
Oh, yeah, it's all Ontario shows. Is this kind of like a tester tour, and you're going to do something bigger in the summer?
Well, it is a test. We don't really know what it's going to be like. We've not done this before. We've only done this. If you Google Bachman YouTube, you'll see we're in my garage. We just set up and played. Coco was running the camera and the sound, and one day we said, look, come and play drums. She went and started to play drums, so now she's drumming with us. She's an incredible drummer. She's fantastic. And so we're just going to be there. We got a bass player from Japan who played with us when we were in Japan there. And we're rehearsing right now, and we're having fun doing it, and we're going to drag the fun out for another couple of weeks and share it with all the people there.
All right. Well, we will see you at the Chatham Capitol Theatre on March 23rd. I can't wait to see this intimate show. You said it's mostly acoustic?
Mostly acoustic, yeah.
Yep. We're looking forward to getting out of our house finally and inviting everybody out there to get out of their house, and let's have an evening together of some fun and some good music.
All right. Well, guys, we will see you there. And thanks so much for taking the time with me and telling me that story. We now know it's not a rock and roll myth. It's true.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.